My classmate Esteban and I will be presenting 6 language learning theories in the following slides. The first theory in this list is innatism. It was proposed by other scholars earlier, but eventually Noam Chomsky popularized it in the 1950s and 60s. So, the core idea of this theory is that we all human beings have a language acquisition device that predisposes us to learn language um, faster and easier. An example of this is how children are able to grasp grammatical rules without actually knowing the name, but being able to express sentences successfully, and that they unconsciously have a template that they follow to guide themselves throughout this path of language. And the implications we should be taking into consideration when teaching is that we can focus or have to focus on authentic communication in order for our students to learn the closest to reality. Then that also it is very important to bear in mind that the more input we provide, the less opportunity for students to make mistakes there will be. And also that we, by comprehensible input, refers that we have to provide them with input that is a level above what they already know so that they still understand but learn along the way. Next, we have interlanguage, proposed by the scholar Larry Selinker in the 1970s. The main idea of this is that all human beings, or children particularly, create an inner system when learning a language. So, for example, a child might not know the difference between, let's say, a pronoun and a verb, but they, in a rudimentary manner, create this categorization in their own mind. And it is also worth mentioning that this system will evolve with time as more input is given. An example of this, and that comes up very often when talking about interlanguage, is fossilization, and this occurs when the learner makes a mistake without being corrected in time, so that this mistake becomes permanent. Now, what are some of the implications that we have to take into consideration for our teaching practice? Is that mistakes are a necessary part of the process and that we have to allow our students to make mistakes. But also, it is very important that we correct these mistakes in time so that they don't turn into fossilization. And last is that we have to allow learners to be active constructors of language. This relates to how we have to allow them to make mistakes, but always correcting them. And the third theory is cognitive constructivism, proposed by Jean Piaget. The main idea is that children or babies, toddlers, construct knowledge with what they already have. So, and this helps them to grasp more knowledge or new knowledge. An example of this is, let's say, a child already understands the concept of a dog. He understands that dogs have 4 legs, they have fur, they have a snout, and let's say that this child encounters a cat, and a cat has 4 legs, and has a snout. So this child might believe that this cat is also called dog, and that is how, with what he or she already has, builds more knowledge. And the implications we have to have in consideration for our teaching practice is that we can incorporate activities like hands-on activities, but also tasks that enhance problem-solving skills in order to create critical thinking abilities. Then, how we can include personalized instructions if it's really necessary. So, for example, instructions for each student or for students that struggle a bit more, and that we can help our students modify or adapt what they already know to fit into the requirements for what they are going to learn now.
The interactionism theory. The main scholar is Jerome Brunner. This theory, as a core idea, enhances social connections and cultural environment for learners. It emphasizes the social interactions the learners have to learn, highlighting the cultural context. It links intrinsic and environmental elements to explain language learning. As an example, Learners have interactions with native speakers that allow observation, imitation, and feedback. The implications for teaching practice are that the strategy of negotiation of meaning is employed, students are exposed to real world material, and communicative and collaborative groups are needed in class. Sociocultural theory. The main scholar is Lev Vygotsky. As a core idea, this theory points out the social connections that learners must acquire, accentuating the cultural environment. It integrates intrinsic and extrinsic elements to elucidate language acquisitions. As an example, we can say that students need meaningful group interaction, scaffolding, and collaborative dialogue in the first and second language learning context. The implications for teaching practice are scaffolded students, collaborative projects, and peer-assisted learning. Krashen language learning theory. The main scholar is Stephen Krashen. The core idea is that he made different hypotheses in order to explain the language learning process. He makes a difference between language acquisition and language learning. Language acquisition is a subconscious process resulting from natural communication, and language learning is a conscious process driven by error correction. Language acquisition results from an understandable input in a relaxed environment. In language learning, a monitor corrects language performance and encourages learners to communicate correctly. As an example, we can say that learners constantly analyze grammar rules and practice them, also follow an order to learn grammatical structures, and analyze the language and focus on developing competence. The implications for teaching practice are that material should be presented in a predicted progression. Teachers present comprehensible input that is a little beyond the student levels and competence, and teachers have to create a low anxiety classroom environment.